Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be testing out several pancake recipes from multiple websites. All the recipes used in today's video will be linked in the description box below. Here's a list of all the ingredients for this recipe. Make sure to heat your skillet or griddle over medium-high heat and reduce the heat to low once hot. In a mixing bowl, whisk together the oat flour, cinnamon, and baking powder. For this recipe, I went ahead and I used 1 tablespoon of cinnamon instead. Then, in a blender, add the mashed bananas, almond milk, melted coconut oil, maple syrup, and vanilla extract, and process on high speed until smooth. For this recipe, I skipped adding the vanilla extract and maple syrup. Next, mix the wet ingredients with the dry until the batter forms a thick pancake batter with no lumps. Cook the pancakes for 5 to 7 minutes on one side, then flip and repeat the same process on the other side. And that's it for this recipe, so let's move on to recipe number 2. Here's a list of all the ingredients for recipe number 2. Start by mixing the flour, sugar, cornstarch, baking powder, and salt together in a mixing bowl. Then pour in the milk, melted butter or oil, and vanilla extract and mix together. I would recommend using less butter than what the recipe calls for, as the taste of butter was a bit overwhelming in the pancakes. Now fold in the chocolate chips and let the batter sit for 10 minutes. In the meantime, heat a griddle or fry pan over medium-low heat. The cook time for these pancakes was similar to the first recipe, as it took anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes to cook these pancakes on each side. And that's it for recipe number 2, so let's move on to recipe number 3. Here's a list of all the ingredients for recipe number 3. This recipe calls for a flax egg, so start by preparing the flax egg and setting it aside for 15 minutes. In a bowl, whisk together the all-purpose flour, baking powder, cinnamon, and salt. In a separate bowl, pour in the almond milk, apple cider vinegar, maple syrup, flax egg, and oil. Stir the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients. Heat the skillet to medium-high and lightly grease the skillet with oil. Pour the pancake batter into small circles on the skillet and place the blueberries on top. The cook time for these pancakes was a little bit longer compared to the other recipes. It took anywhere from 7 to 10 minutes to cook each side. Recipe number 3 is a great option for those who are trying to limit their sugar intake. However, I would recommend adding an additional sweetener to this recipe, as the blueberries are the only saving grace in terms of sweetness for this recipe. And that's it for recipe number 3, so let's move on to recipe number 4. Here's a list of all the ingredients for recipe number 4. In a separate bowl, combine the flour, baking powder, and poppy seeds. For this recipe, I chose to skip the poppy seeds as I'm not a huge fan of how they taste. In a bowl, combine the almond milk, lemon juice, lemon zest, and maple syrup. Add the wet ingredients to the dry ingredients and whisk until you get a smooth batter consistency, and allow the batter to sit for 5 minutes. Once again, the cook time for these pancakes was similar to recipe number 1 and 2, and it took anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes to cook on each side. For recipe number 4, I would recommend either adding additional lemon juice or lemon zest to the recipe, as the pancakes weren't lemony enough for my liking. Out of all 4 recipes, my favorite was recipe number 1. This is the only pancake recipe I have tried where I don't need to or want to add any maple syrup on top of my pancakes. I did modify this recipe to limit the amount of sugar, and it still tastes amazing. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I recommend giving these recipes a try. And with that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys.